what I did, I have 3 moments, and I'll share those 3 moments with you. 3 moments in my life where I was just so happy. If I had died after those moments occurred, I would have died happy. I would have died in a good place. Can you think of moments in your life when you were just so happy? Maybe when you met your first husband. That's funny because I said first husband. or maybe when you gave birth the first time. But there are countless moments that you can think of when you were just so happy that nothing better could happen to you. So you take 3 of those moments, and then you characterize those moments by a couple of words or phrases, so that your brain, your subconscious mind knows that when you say those words, you're thinking about that moment. And when you're thinking about that moment, you're feeling pretty good. I was speaking of my long-term goals when I would do the slingshot, because you would take yourself to that moment, which makes your subconscious mind penetrable. It makes your subconscious mind susceptible when you're in peak state. When you're really excited, your subconscious mind is going to buy whatever comes right then, right? So you say those goals one by one, and then when you complete the process, you give thanks for the results. That's how the slingshot works. So as you're sitting listening to me, think about your own goals that you have. Think about your moments where you're like, oh, wow, that's great. Think about those things as I tell you my story. This part about the slingshot is the inside game. We're going to talk about the inside game. We'll talk a little bit about the outside game. But in my world, the inside game is far more important. So I give more weight to the inside game. Years ago, when I was in the military, this is my first moment I'm going to share with you right now. I'll share all 3 of them. My first moment I was in the military, I was stationed in Wiesbaden, Germany. And like many of the GIs there, I was sad. I was unhappy. I missed my parents. I missed my siblings. And I would do all the things that all the other GIs did. I could go to nightclubs, spend my time with German Fräuleins, do whatever to allay all the loneliness. So this one night outside of Wiesbaden, Germany, that's where I was, I'm at a party, and I see a guy. Now when you see a guy and you're in the military, there's some things that you routinely do. There's a ritual you go through. You know, you ask each other questions. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing, man? Hey, what's your name, man? Hey, man, my name is Robert. Hey, so where you from? I'm from South Carolina. Oh, really? I'm from South Carolina too. And see, now that's the first little hook right there, because if he's from South Carolina and I'm from South Carolina, that means that we're homeboys. Right? Now, compared to all the other people in the military, we're homeboys. Don't you mess around with the homeboy. I mean, this is my homeboy right here, right? So, he's from Charleston, I'm from Charleston. And that's 2. He's from South Carolina and he's from Charleston. So here we are, we're bonding, we're feeling pretty excited. We're halfway across the world, and I got a little piece of home. The guy is from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. So we're sitting and we're dancing and we're talking with the ladies, and we got the front line, we doing our thing, you know. And I find out that he is married to my first cousin.
Oh, wow.
He got a Fräulein, I got a Fräulein. He's married to my first cousin. I'm single. I'm like 22 years old. But it didn't matter much, because it was a piece of home. He was my homeboy. I was able to get past that. But that moment when I saw him, it was like a glass of ice water to a thirsty man. Here's a little piece of home. Man, I was pretty excited. So, in order for my brain to know which moment I'm talking about, when I talk about that moment, I call that Family Day. Okay? Remember that moment. It's Family Day. Next moment. I'm in Texas. Just got out of the military. Got out of the military kind of prematurely, which is another speech. But suffice it to say, I did get an honorable discharge. Right? So I get out of the military, and I need to pay rent. I don't have any money. I get kicked out on my duff. I'm driving around the streets of San Angelo, Texas, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. Weeks later, I still need to pay my rent. I go to my mailbox, as I did from time to time, and I really wasn't expecting anything to be in my mailbox. I wasn't expecting any ship to come in because I hadn't sent any ships out. And you know, you usually have to have a ship go out before you get one come in. So I open my mailbox, and there's a letter in there And for the return address, God is written in quotation marks. So I open it up and there's a check in there for $1,300. Wow. And it's got my name on it.
Wow.
And my rent's only $1,000. So I'm excited. Yeah, thank you, Jesus. You know, I hadn't even been to church at that time. Talking about being saved. I'm saved now. But back then, I didn't have any idea of being saved, man. But I had enough sense to go, thank you, Jesus. I appreciate that. And it really wasn't God that sent me the check. It was a friend of mine who I met in the military who was living in Vermont. And least of all him, I would expect him to have that kind of money. But he had it for me. So that's my second moment. And I call that the message from God. So even now when I say message from God, my subconscious mind is keyed in and it knows what I'm thinking about and it knows that I'm excited. Right? My subconscious mind knows that. So I'm being flooded with endorphins right now. So my third moment. From age 55 to 65, my father went through some pretty significant changes. My father went from being a strong, robust man to a feeble old man with gray hair. But during that 10 years, I had challenges of my own, so I thought that my father wasn't cool. I didn't want to relate to my father because, well, he didn't buy me a Mustang when I turned to be 16 years old. He never took me to ball games that other kids' father took to. My father wasn't cool. He didn't regale people with stories of excitement and get them all excited at parties and whatnot. So I had challenges with my dad, which was stupid. So now, at the end of 10 years, me and my father have made up. And I'm in North Carolina now, at my sister's house, and my father is driving up from South Carolina. So as my father is driving up towards me, I'm all excited. I'm in the front of the house waiting for him to come up. And he's driving up, and I look in the car, and I see my father for the first time in 10 years. But his hair was black. So his hair is gray. He's kind of wrinkled, like I see him driving up. And my mind is telling me not only is my father getting older, but if my father's getting older, I'm getting older. And I begin to regret all the times that I spent separated away from my father. It didn't make any sense to me anymore. But here he is pulling up to the side of the road. He opens the door to get out the ar. I walk towards him. You know, I was always cool. I never really was a person that thought it was okay to show emotion. So I'm cool with my dad, right? And I get over there and the car door opens and it was almost like it was a giant vacuum that sucks him and me together right there in the street. And wow, I guess that's a pretty serious moment. And right there in the street, as we held on to each other, we both cried. I mean, cried like little boys. And I'm not talking the cute cry that you see on the television show. I'm talking the cry with the snotty nose. I'm talking the cry with the boo-hoo. I'm talking crying. And we didn't say anything. We just cried and cried and cried. And believe it or not, that was, from that moment on, my father and I were so close, we were inseparable. And even now, every year in the month of June, I elicit dad stories from my friends. I go to them and say, hey, you got a favorite dad story? And I just want to tell my dad's story, but I listen to their dad's story, and I've heard some pretty good ones over the years. But those are my three moments. So what's the first moment? Family Day. The second moment, message from God. The third moment, dad's story. Okay? Now I had three goals that I was really pumped about. My first goal was unlimited wealth. Okay? Unlimited wealth is a goal that I spoke about. And my second goal was a lucrative internet marketing business. Okay? My third goal was a lucrative speaking opportunities. So now you know my three moments and you know my three goals, right? So in the morning and several times during the day, I assure you, if you do this, you'll get similar results. You don't have to take my word for it, but believe me, you will. And if you don't believe me, then you won't do it. But keep in mind, the wise man said, to those that believe, proof is unnecessary. To those that don't believe, proof is impossible.
Wow.
Okay? So it's your choice. You can believe it. So I get up in the morning, and I go right to my mirror, and I kind of assume a posture something like this. And I go, I'm looking in the mirror at me, okay? You can look in the mirror at you. So just see yourself with your moments. In a little bit, I'm going to ask about your moments. So be thinking about your moments. And go. Family Day. Message from God. Dad story. I close my eyes and I go, unlimited wealth is mine. Thank you. And that's one goal. Family Day. Message from God. Dad story. Lucrative speaking opportunity. Come to me now. Thank you. Thank you. That's two. I go, this is fun for me. Family Day. Message from God. Dad story. Lucrative marketing business. Come to me now. Thank you. And I would do that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 times a day. When you do that enough, your subconscious mind thinks that that's where you live. And although you are not able to access my bank account, the fact that I'm here speaking to you says that I have a lucrative speaking opportunity, doesn't it? The fact that you heard that I have a company called Create the Spotlight, it says I have a marketing business. And I'm not finished yet, really, because there's other things. If you were to pick a spot way in the distance and go as far as you can go, guess what? When you look again, you'll be able to go even further. So once you nail down the inner game, then the outer game becomes easier to play.